Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me for yet another episode of the My Favorite WWF LJN tournament. We are finally on episode 17, I believe. So, round 1, part 17. I am just shooting through this first part of this tournament, and 7 rounds, guys. I basically I have to shoot through this as quickly as possible, and if in all honesty, if I wasn't doing this on a daily basis, I probably would not be able to. I would probably not have been able to take on this full tournament the way that I'm doing it. I probably would have been able to. I probably would have had to knock it down to 120, 130 figures or so, like I've been talking about. Because if you're talking about posting a video like I had been in years past, like every 2 or 3 days, could you imagine? I would not be able to post all the other videos I wanted to post, all other reviews, all other discussion type videos. So it would be nothing but tournament videos, and that'd be like 3 videos a week, and it still would take probably close to a year to complete a tournament this size. So that's just insane. I think in 2025 I am going to have to take a step back though. 2024 was big about getting as many of these videos out, especially when I started doing dailies doing this on a daily basis. But I think in 2025 I'm probably going to go back to the way things were before, and that means going back to posting every 2 or 3 days. I kind of feel like a lot of times you kind of lose viewers, you lose subscribers and all that because you post so much, and there are a lot of videos that people are probably interested in, but they're not like me. They don't sit there and watch YouTube on a daily basis. So who wants to sit there and watch a 30-minute episode every single day of the week? That's just kind of my point of view. But in the meantime, I know there are some folks out there who actually do enjoy watching these videos on a daily basis. So I will try my best to get these out continuously for you guys. And it doesn't really hurt. I mean, I have these saved in a folder. So anyone that's interested, if you feel like you missed a video or something, you could always go back to the folder and kind of watch them straight through. Whether you want to wait until the tournament is over and have all the videos posted and we'll watch them, or however you want to go about watching them, whatever easiest on you. Nope. Well, we are going to begin with today's episode. First matchup. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. Oh, did I mention that I hate this? Steve Austin squaring off against Jim Brunzell. Two great figures. So, I've always said, if you get a matchup that features like Iron Sheik versus Jimmy Snuka, let's say Roddy Piper versus Paul Orndorff, I don't know. And then the second round is Sheik versus Orndorff, or Sheik versus Piper, and then Sheik moves on round. Iron Sheik is not a third round figure. So it infuriates me when these amazing elite figures get knocked out in the first round, but then you got like these figures that should go more than one trial and error type of deal, and they go 3-4 rounds. All right. Oh, this is good. I don't know how I'm going to go with this one, but this is a good one. Hogan from My Wife versus Random Treasures Axe. So my wife does have 2 figures in this tournament. Again, guys, she is not an artist. It just so happened that just for fun, she and I were painting some figures last year, and she did a fantastic job on a couple of them. And yeah, now they're probably displayed among couple of my favorite figures. And one of her figures, the Santa Claus, has already moved forward, so she's already 1 for 1. And we have another Hogan. This one comes from John Ruggiero, and it's going to square off against Roddy Pipe. Nope. Okay, that one says Icon Roddy. I saw the Roddy part, but I didn't know what the heck the first word was. That's Icon. Alright, what's up with all the Pipers these last two videos? This one is going to feature Reality Check Piper as he squares off against Random Treasures Abdullah the Butcher. So I've been noticing these last few videos now, you had back-to-back videos that had multiple, and when I say multiple, I mean more than two, not even more than one, but more than two matches featuring Andre the Giant. Or you had multiple videos or multiple matchups featuring Brutus Beefcake in last video. Now these last couple videos, 3 different matchups featuring Roddy Piper. It's like, can we spread these out a little bit? Alright guys, I'm going to shut up and get those figures pulled for you, and I will be back in a split second. Alright. Make sure we're counting down. We are. Alright. So, first matchup. It's going to feature Steve Austin as he squares off against Jim Brunzell. So, at first glance, when I saw that I had picked Steve Austin, I thought it was the resin figure, which is kind of like the Stunning Steve Austin, the Greg Valentine version fighting pose. This doesn't make it any easier. This is still a fantastic figure. The only downside with this Steve Austin figure is, you guessed it, Iron Sheik. Steve Austin is a spectacular figure. The Papa Shango figure that I have, that's an Iron Sheik figure. Yeah, I mean, I might complain about the Iron Sheik because of playability-wise, but you can't deny the overall look and appearance and the extra intricate details that have gone into absolutely every single freaking design. Built on accessories and clothing. I mean, this is absolute killer. And I kind of wondered when you were going to get a real good Steve Austin figure, right? I've seen some people, I believe in years past, they made attempts to try and turn somebody into Steve Austin. Maybe they used Iron Sheik in the past, I don't remember, but this is a freaking good one. Like, you look at this to me, this looks like Steve Austin, right? And I love when, right here, if I give you a good angle, right where they cut that hole, so it's like when you raise your finger, right, it gives you that appearance. So I love the fact that they did that. That looks beautiful. That is an excellent work, and he really is flipping you off. But he's kind of like doing this instead of, yeah. So I really like this figure, man. This really is a tough one. I was mad because I thought it was the Stunning Steve Austin, but once I saw that it was the Sheik version, I'm like, this doesn't help. This does not make it any easier. In fact, because of some of the added bonuses to this figure, it might make it even harder. It's a rubber figure compared to that resin. We already know that freaking rubber figures are going to mean so much more than resin. Does that mean that a resin figure cannot win this tournament? Of course not. Any figure, resin or rubber, original or custom, can win this tournament. I might knock on fighting poses like this all the time, but do not be deceived. A figure with this type of fighting pose can still win this tournament. Yes, it would be nice to have absolutely every single detail that I covet among an action figure. Look of the figure, authenticity to the figure, fighting pose, colors, designs, accessories, all of that, history with the character, nostalgic purposes, right? Having someone that you're a fan of, all of that would be awesome. But to have every single thing that you're looking for in one piece, it's impossible more times than not. There are so many figures that I own right now that I think would be absolute killer pieces that are very, very close to netting every single one of those needs. I like the built-in beer can. And the thing I like about the beer can, unlike when you look at Million Dollar Man and his money wad, it doesn't take up like twice the size of his hand. So it's realistic beer can to hand ratio. So that's pretty nice. Or when you look at the Abdullah the Butcher from Wrestling Writer with the fork. Now the fork looks like a freaking trident. It's so big, but there's also a bonus to that because it actually allows you to actually see the detail of the fork. You can actually see that he's holding it. Here, so it is good and bad in that respect. You know, as far as measurements go, yeah, it's nice that it's measuring correctly, that the ratio works beautifully, but downside, you really can't see the detail as well. So, kind of like a toss-up a little bit. Jim Brunzell. Oh, man. What do I say about the freaking Killer Bees? Killer Bees have probably a couple of the more unique action figures of the LJN line. Reason being, I knew of the Killer Bees growing up. I've known that name. I never knew who B. Brian Blair was. I never knew Jim Brunzell. I never knew any of their history in previous promotions or any other place that they may have wrestled or names that may have gone under or anything like that. I think maybe in like some of these old videos, like I may have seen them, because I've had to have seen them wrestle. I've had to. Because how would I know about that whole booty bust to the face finisher type of deal, right? How would I know the name Killer Bees? Unless they did like flashback scenes on like Saturday Night's Main Event or something like that. Some of those, or I don't know any of those. I can't remember the name of these different TV shows that aired, but before Raw, basically late 80s, early 90s, whatever those shows were. Saturday's Main Event and that was the other one, Wrestling Superstars. So they're unique in the fact that I knew of them, but not really. They're unique in the sense that both figures are very playable figures, but they're not quite top notch. You look at Hart Foundation, Jim Neidhart is a top 10 action figure. Bret Hart, probably put him in number 12, 13, but he's not really that great. Both B. Brian Blair and Jim Brunzell may not have the most ideal poses ever, but they are both incredibly playable figures that you could sit there forever and have enjoyable matches with. Looks are pretty ideal to the actual face of the actual wrestlers. You don't have to have anything fancy. I've seen customs where they took like these yellow jackets and stuff and put them on the figures. They're actually like $300+ for the pair, but man, I think those figures would be well worth it. But I just don't want to pay that type of money, right? Or you take like the Steiner Brothers, you know how like the Hasbro figures, you have the Steiner Brothers, and then they start building like these Michigan State jackets, varsity jackets onto the figures. And I have a couple of those, but so they take these original figures and they add these added built-on accessories and they make them incredible. Something about Jim Brunzell, like these figures, I kind of like, instead of standing straight up, he kind of leans back like so, which is kind of distracting. This is such a fun and solid figure. Like I said, this is a top 25 action figure. I'd probably put B. Brian Blair somewhere in the top 25. I'd probably put him maybe top 21, top 22, something like that. I gotta rearrange my list because I missed Rick Martel. So now if I ever make that list over again, Rick Martel's got to be like 21, and then probably him like 22 or something like that. Here's another one of those things where it's not really a wrong answer. Both are really solid pieces. I'm going to go with Steve Austin, though. Guys like The Rock and Steve Austin, and even John Cena. I actually seen Steve Austin wrestle. Obviously, in the mid-90s when he was the ringmaster and part of the $1 Million Corporation, etc. So even before he became, this version of Steve Austin, at least I was familiar with him as a wrestler. The Rock, Rocky Maivia, whatever. I really didn't pay attention to that Rock. Yeah, you've always known about these names like John Cena. I think John Cena came in wrestling long after I stopped watching. Like I'm more familiar with a lot of these guys as actors than I am as professional athletes. So, man, the chain, every so much detail. I never looked at this figure and thought to myself, you know what? This is a figure that could challenge Bruiser Brody for the top seed, but these tournaments, it really gives me the opportunity to really look over figures. I mean, sometimes I just glance them over and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty badass. But now when I'm actually looking at every intricate detail of the figure, dare I say this could potentially be one of my favorites? Most definitely. We might be seeing this one very far. I probably would have said like a second or third rounder, but no. Right now, kind of looking at it, talking about it, we could see him in the 5th round or later. Steve Austin moves on to round 2. Next matchup was... Ooh. This is a good one. From Random Treasures, Demolition Axe, as he squares off against Hulk Hogan. And this is Hulk Hogan from Rocky. If you actually try to get the Rocky Hulk Hogan on card, I've seen that on auction before, and that damn thing sells for like over $100 freaking. It's like a Remco style figure, and I have the figure loose, the Thunder Lips loose, but as a mint on card figure, crazy expensive. So I had a few figures that there was like massive paint loss. And I've always said, I don't enjoy painting figures or messing up figures that are salvageable or in good condition. But if it's like massive paint loss, where you're going to need like a total repaint to salvage it, I'm okay with it. My Hulk Hogan figure was not really completely beat up, but I mean, it wasn't the greatest shape. Like when you looked at the head, obviously she didn't do anything with the hair. So that's kind of like what the trunks and boots and whatnot look like. So I just thought she was going to do like red boots. But then she kind of threw in these black and white mixed laces. When I say I was incredibly impressed by her work, she's not an artist. She's not a painter. She doesn't do anything like that. This was just, again, just something that we did for fun. My job was just to paint King Kong Bundy, and I screwed up painting a figure all black. Like, how do you screw that up? But she was able to do all this amazing work in detail. So, we already know the Series 1 Hulk Hogan, one of the greatest action figures ever made. Hulk Hogan Series 1, the original figure, always lost in the first round, but he always lost to his custom. So, other than that, you would very rarely see a Hulk Hogan lose in a tournament like this, because there are very few figures out there that could actually challenge him. Now, when you start facing guys like Big John Studd, or possibly Andre the Giant, guys like that, maybe Big Boss Man, etc., then you gotta start questioning it a little bit more, because these are excellent figures as well. This one is actually original. I think this came from Stinger GQ, but I keep it with Ram Treasures because Ram Treasures did come out with this exact same design. But instead of having him by himself, I keep it with the Smash figure, and then of course later on when Crush came out, you have all three of them sitting together. So, Axe with red face, I never really noticed him like that before. I kind of look at this right here, and you think Demolition Axe, or you think Demolition Tag Team from Hasbro Series 2. No, Series 1. Axe was in Series 1, and Crush and Smash was in Series 2. With the 2-pack, but But this is my Demolition Axe. This is the only Demolition Axe I could ever remember as a kid. I mean, I never knew anything about Demolition Hasbro figures as a kid. Again, the only figures I ever knew anything about were the figures I actually had as a kid. And when I talked about like Hasbro Series 3, which we never had any of those, I didn't know any of those figures existed. So, yeah, fantastic figure. I think that, I've said it before, Demolition Axe should be a top 10 all-time best LJN original figure. As a standalone statue-esque figure, it's perfection. As a playable children's wrestling toy, it is straight trash. How many times do you get to say that? That a simple pose, it's not easy to make now it's one thing to go from like A grade to B grade, right? But when you're talking like, or dropping something from like number 15 to number 18, 15 to 26, something like that. But when you talk about like such a substantial drop where you could potentially be like a number 9 figure and drop to like, let's say 46. And the only thing that's keeping it from being one number to the other is this right here. LJN screwed this figure up so bad. And it was such a perfect design overall. It's hard for me to keep any of the Demolition figures out because I love Demolition. One of the top 5 greatest tag teams of all time. Doesn't matter which one of the 3 you choose. But I like figures like this. I want to keep figures like this in the tournament for as long as possible. I don't care how many Hulk Hogan Series 1 figures I have in this tournament. In this case, Hulk Hogan could never lose to Axe or any Demolition figure character in this tournament. Yeah, you are going to see Hulk Hogan in round 2. Or Thunder Lips, whatever you want to call him. But someone might sit back and argue and say, hey, you're only choosing it because your wife painted it. Inaccurate. I just really like the work that she did. I love the fact that it's Hulk Hogan. Like I said, Hulk Hogan, perfect figure already, right? I just like the fact that the extra details that she put in there. I'm telling you, if this was just straight red boots, probably not. And that's actually all I was expecting, is just plain red boots. Because that's all that you found on the Remco figure was white, and straight red. But the added detail that she put in there, mixing the black and the white on the boots for the laces, and like the tongue of the boots, it made it pop and made the figure that much better. So I think she did killer work with that one. Right now we're at 23 minutes. Alright, next matchup from John Ruggiero. We're going to look at another Hulk Hogan figure as he squares off against Roddy Piper. And this is the icon Roddy Piper. So we'll start with John Ruggiero. And when I talk about Jesse Ventura being one of the most utilized or customized action figures ever, this is why. It always seems like Jesse Ventura is not customized to be another Jesse Ventura. 9 times out of 10, Jesse Ventura is being customized to be turned into a Hulk Hogan. I don't know why Hulk Hogan is always the go-to, like why they think that this is a proper pose for Hogan. Yes, when I bought from John, there were about 5 or 6 figures I bought from him all at one time, and this was one of them. It's a beauty. I wasn't looking at this based on pose-wise. I was looking at this based on design. With the NWO shirt, okay? The little NWO belt. You look at the little lightning on the pants. NWO for life. This was absolute solid across the board. And, championship belt and accessories. It was a fantastic piece. I just could not pass on. So I think I got this. I believe I got the British Bulldog with Chain and Matilda. I believe the Mountie was also part of that lot. Maybe Brutus Beefcake. Mega Maniac Brutus Beefcake. Pretty sure there are at least one or two more. Maybe Kane was part of that. So there are a bunch of figures, though, that I had gotten with them. And yes, Jesse Ventura, he makes an awesome Hulk Hogan. So I understand. I mean, I've got multiple figures like this that they utilize Jesse Ventura for Hogan, and it's perfectly fine, but you always utilize Jesse Ventura, and it's always Hulk Hogan. I can't really... Does customizers use him for anybody else? I would assume so. Maybe like a superstar Billy Graham or something, but come to think of it, freaking Jesse Ventura hates Hulk Hogan in real life. So I was reading this story not too long ago, and I guess Jesse Ventura was in the locker room, and he was trying to get the guys together so they could, damn, what's the word? Sorry, man, I've been struggling. I had to pause because, for the life of me, I could not think of the word. I still can't think of the word. That bothers me, man. I'm literally at a point in my life where I'm the most educated I've ever been. But, the most simplest and basic of words, I cannot remember. And I don't know what to blame that on. Do I blame that on TBI? Do I blame that on old age? Do I blame that on the fact that I'm not in school, and when you're not in school, you just lose knowledge over time, and you forget about things that are supposed to be obviously clear? I'm still sitting here. I had to pause for a few minutes, and I'm trying to think of the darn word. I still can't think about it. It's driving me insane. I feel like it's right at the tip of my head, and it's going to kill me. And I'm going to think about it, and it's probably going to pop up right after I end the video, and it's going to drive me nuts. But anyways, he's trying to get the guys to band together, and Hulk Hogan kind of ratted him out to Vince McMahon, and Jesse Ventura was apparently fired right afterwards. So he didn't start working for WCW and whatnot. Dang, what's that word? It's such a simple unionize. Jesus Christ. I could not freaking... Such a simple, basic word. I could not remember the freaking word for union. Oh, God. I'm telling you guys. Best advice I could give to a younger group. Don't go to college. Forget about the freaking cost of college. No, man. I swear to God, when I went to college, or when I started going to college, I felt the more educated I became, the more dumb I became. It's like I call it the Kelly Bundy syndrome. The more information that enters your mind can only hold so much information. So the more information that goes in your mind, the older information that you used to know exits your brain. So, oh man, it sucks. That was a force right there. I don't even know where the heck I even left off. Hogan, Ventura, Union. Let's move on to Roddy Piper. There's not really anything more about this figure that I could say about this one or the next Roddy Piper we're going to look at that I didn't already say in the last video or in previous videos talking about Piper. Piper original figure is just not a great design. Ram Treasures did a great job, I think, by upgrading the Brutus Beefcake figure, which Beefcake alone was pretty decent. The short-haired compared to the long The long locks he gets in with Ram Treasures. All right, I like that. I like the fact that she incorporated the rubber shears. Fantastic. So maybe there are certain figures that weren't done right the first time. Rick Rude was not done right the first time with LJN. So I understand why they needed to come out with the Volume 2 Rick Rude. Some folks, I get it, complained about the orange Ultimate Warrior, which I still think is a perfect figure. I don't know what the complaint is. So I never understood the need for Volume 2, but I understand because of other people's complaints why they came out with another one there. But Tito Santana was necessary because the first Tito was garbage, and you wanted to kind of give out that prototype, which was fantastic. As much as I said I don't like bringing out new figures that already exist, new characters that already exist, I don't know. I love Roddy Piper. I want to see something spectacular. And that's the thing. It has to be a crazy, spectacular figure. I don't want to see something barely better than this. Or even worse. But I want to see Roddy Piper done right. I have no idea what the heck this is all about. He is literally just a clothesline only guy. Just not an enjoyable figure. Yeah, you could sit there, have some fun, some play with it as a kid. I get it, but man, two bad figures, play-wise. John Ruggiero's customization is spectacular. Yes, there's no doubt. John Hogan is a no doubt winner. And possible, someone that you might see go 3 rounds or more. So it's a possibility. It does give you a better chance of seeing further expansion into the tournament. So we already know this next matchup is basically a toss-up, but we're still going to look at it either way, with Random Treasures, Abdullah the Butcher, squaring off against Roddy Piper, and this is the reality check, and this one is pretty darn minty. And so, I like the figures that come with the blue trunks. I don't know, to me it looks better, especially with the offset color of the boots, right? To add that blue, so that way you don't have red on top of red. But overall, and in fact, because there's like no pain loss or anything on this might even be better than the Hot Rod black shirt one. By the way, I've said before, I think it was last January or last February, I don't know. I was kind of lying in bed. It was like a Saturday morning. It was like 7 a.m. And I logged into Etsy. Just to check. And I saw that they had a new figure. And I'm like, dang. I had to hurry up and rush and buy that figure immediately. And I'm probably like the first person to own the figure. First person to get the figure. And it's one of those figures that I'm like, because previous to this figure, there were like so many back-to-back figures that I just was not enjoying. I don't remember exactly how many figures or what figures were coming out, but I talked about that Rick Rude figure. I thought it could have been so much better than it was. It was serviceable, but like it wasn't anything I was jumping to grab. Ultimate Warrior, love the figure, probably a top 5 Random Treasures figure, but still, I wasn't jumping to grab it. After that, I think Tully Blanchard maybe was one of those figures, possibly. I know I wasn't jumping for that figure, most definitely. I don't remember. I can't sit here and remember every single figure that came out in order, but when Abdullah Butcher came out, hell yeah, 100% within seconds. If I waited more than half a second to buy this figure, it was too long. If I could change things up nowadays, yes, I would have waited and done things a little bit differently. Because I have that red and black Abdullah the Butcher that I bought from Wrestling Rider, the sort of resin King Kong Bundy remake, right? I would have made this white pants Abdullah the Butcher, and I would have asked to have like some kind of like red, bloody spots around the pants. kind of give you like that Legends of Professional Wrestling action figure version, just so that you didn't have the exact same color scheme of both, both Abby figures. So fighting pose, incredible. I mean, the right hand, I get it. He gives you a lot of these little small chops and everything. I mean, he was a shitty wrestler. God dang. I mean, there's like really bad wrestlers. Bash and Booger was really terrible, but Bash and Booger was so much fun though. Because Abdullah Butcher was so freaking insane and didn't really care about hurting people, and he got all over the where did he wrestle? I mean, yeah, he wrestled in Puerto Rico, AWA, of course, we know that. All these little smaller promotions got it. Anytime you watch like any of his matches, like you get on YouTube right now and you try to look up Abdullah Butcher versus like Bruiser Brody, for example. You got Brody huffing and puffing around the ring or huffing and puffing out. It looks like it's inside of a school gym. I'm like, man, you go for like these massive arenas like the Rosemont Horizon in Chicago, and then you look at like these smaller companies like AWA or what have you, these smaller promotions, and high school gyms are basically what they're utilizing. I mean, it's nice that the seats are like literally right on top of the ring practically, but you can fit what 600 people in there, if that. But man, he's got a freaking amazing choke slam. Like, he's got that SD Jones choke slam. So I think the Undertaker, his arm is way up, way too high. But SD Jones and Abdullah Butcher, they got the best choke slam pose. And you know, you make do with those little small punches and whatnot. I mean, he actually had one of the better tombstone poses. not much of a body slam, but like I said, you get him up, he looks like a solid tombstone. Beautiful looking figure. I love the way that kind of like the pants ride up into his butt and whatnot. So you see all of these creases and whatnot, and the crevices in the pants. It's like they actually did a 3D mold of the actual wrestler, right? And got all of the rise in all of the creases in the right exact spots. So, and come on, man, even add in the darn elf shoes. There really isn't anything wrong with the figure, not one darn bit. The glossiness, which I'm always been a huge fan of. You could say the right arm being the way that it is might be a bad thing of the figure, but Abdullah Butcher is easily one of my top 10, probably top 5 favorite Round Treasure figures. I don't remember the Round Treasures tournament, so I'm trying to think. The Zeus was obviously my winner of that tournament. Was Abdullah Butcher in the finals? Or possibly semifinals? I don't remember, but he was definitely very high up there. Abdullah Butcher is absolutely going to crush Roddy Piper. And this is one of those matchups where you don't want, let's say, a 90 squaring off against a 30. You want at least a 90 squaring off against a 50, so that it's actually somewhat reasonable. Now, you don't want a 90 squaring off against another 90 because then you're removing a top-notch figure, but you want them to be somewhat comparable. A 10 squaring off against a 10, a 90 squaring off against a 90, rating-wise of what I'm talking about, doesn't make sense. Well, guys, that does conclude this video, another 40-minute video, and at this point, I kind of feel like I'm probably going to be talking 40 minutes for all my videos. I think it's going to be really hard for me to get back down to 30 minutes again, so hopefully you're okay with the extra 10 minutes on each video. But tomorrow we will be back with yet another episode. And until then, guys, thanks for watching. And talk to you in the comments. And see you then. Goodbye, everybody.